Welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. Dr. Lopkin, we get a lot of input in terms of sometimes focusing too much on the impeachment process, but today we have no choice, do we?
Yeah, it really is the big story. Debate is still going on. A vote is expected tonight to pass the impeachment on to the Senate. And I just have to add one little thing in that has been driving me crazy about the media coverage. They keep saying Trump is going to be only the third president to be impeached. Trump is going to be the fourth president to be impeached. These media outlets are so focused on their own bias, they're not even bothering to get historical facts right.
Yeah, well, let me diverge for a little bit because I've seen some clips of again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's very concerning to me how biased the media is. I mean, it's I grew up with like Walter Cronkite. He was a liberal, he was a super lib, but you never completely knew that.
You never saw his opinion on television.
It was news. CNN is okay. MSNBC, I get that's completely more than fine. It's marketed, packaged. Their brand identity is liberalism. Fine. Rachel Maddow, you want to watch it? Lawrence O'Donnell, fine. CNN, first of all, from a marketing standpoint, Lopkin, I don't understand. Zucker, I guess his name. How did he destroyed a brand? Forget about if you like Trump, don't like Trump. That's not even a fact. That's not even the point. But how do you destroy a brand?
Yeah, CNN's ratings have been in the toilet because of their focus on this. MSNBC's ratings have been down because of this.
Fine, but they never position themselves as what is it with that tagline, the authority of news or whatever it was.
Right.
I mean, I remember, the Gulf War. I remember it, the first one. CNN was the go-to place.
Yes, well, that was what put them on the map. They had people embedded. They were on the ball, and over the years, it's just fallen apart.
I don't know who their parent company is. Maybe Time Warner. Don't know.
Right now, it's AT&T.
It's fine. How do you let that? I mean, it's just, and again, it's not just because I'm partisan. If it was fair and balanced, I would probably watch it over Fox, to be honest with you. If it was the old CNN and you had someone, pro-impeachment, someone against, good TV, I'll watch it. Crossfire, that was an excellent show. But, God, you watch it, it's just, even if you're liberal, because, okay, I'm more conservative. I don't watch Sean Hannity because it's just boring. It's like red meat. I'm sure their ratings are down because even liberals are like, I can't watch this.
Yeah,
agreed or not?
It's beating a dead horse. It really is. Yeah. I love the fact that you use the phrase fair and balanced because Fox has used that for years. And let's face it, we all know they shift to the right. So we don't have a fair and balanced news network anymore.
And that's what we said on the air years ago. You said it, not me. That, they would have been the leader. They would have taken all market share. People are striving for that, yet I think they got hooked on easy meat, easy victory.
They probably did.
Yeah, I think they did. I do. But it's over and very interesting. So let's see how this plays out. He's obviously going to be impeached and he's not going to be convicted. If it's the first question, the only question really is two questions. How does this affect the Democratic Party? And with that, I'll tee it up as Trump now leads all candidates. All.
Yes.
In every poll. All.
There was a pollster on CNBC this morning who his company, and I don't remember which company it is, was focusing on polling battleground states. So they weren't doing national polls. They were just in the battleground states. In January, Trump was losing in every one of these states. Now
in January. In January of this year.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
When they did the polls, he was losing in every one of the battleground states. Now, according to these exact same polls, he's winning in every one of the battleground states.
Do you think the impeachment has hurt the Democrats? Do you think that's partially responsible? And do you think that Pelosi knew it? She just had no choice.
I think Pelosi was backed into a corner.
I agree with that.
How it's going to affect, I mean, it's had some very interesting effects already. If you take a look at campaign finance reports, the two biggest fundraisers for the GOP and for Donald Trump are Adam Schiff and Gerald Nadler, because every time they open their mouths, money flows into both the Trump campaign and the GOP general fund. People are donating like crazy every time they open their mouths.
Well, they're very unsympathetic characters. Nadler, it's just Schiff. I mean, even if you're moderately conservative or independent, it kind of makes he's just they're not compelling.
No. And here's another thing that plays against the Democrats. You know, they issued subpoenas for certain things to come into the investigation. And Trump refused to give them the information and sued them in court to prevent it. Now, the exact same thing happened in both the Nixon and Clinton impeachments. Information was subpoenaed. Both Nixon and Clinton fought it. They went to court, appealed it all the way up to the Supreme Court. Now, in their cases, both of them lost in the Supreme Court, and the information had to be handed over. This time, the Democrats are subverting the court. They're not allowing the appeals to go through by pushing impeachment through before the appeals process is done. Why? Mm-hmm. Because they are afraid that, A, the court could possibly decide against them. It's always a possibility. And B, the court won't make a decision before the 2020 election, and they're going to lose the election. So
yes,
now,
go ahead.
So now you have all of these Democrats yelling that, oh, well, the Senate isn't impartial. Well, the Democrats have been manipulating the system all along. It's the pot calling the kettle black at this point. It doesn't make them look good.
No. So, okay, the 30 some odd Democrats that are in vulnerable districts, how does it affect them?
They're in a tight spot. And Pelosi did give them an out, because over the past several weeks, the House has actually been able to pass USMCA. They passed a spending bill that included border wall security. They extended Trump tax cuts that were going to expire. They were able to do this, one, because the very liberal obstacles were focused on the impeachment, but two, they pushed this through so that these 30 Congress people can go back to their constituents and tell them, well, look, we weren't focused on the impeachment. These are the things that we passed that are going to work for you.
Yeah, I think they're still in hot water.
They're definitely in hot water. Again, they're going to have to try to maneuver around it, but it's 30 congressmen, which means there's an absolute possibility that in 2020, this impeachment could cost the Democrats the House.
I think there's a very good possibility. So this plays out. It goes to Senate. McConnell thinks he's just going to dismiss the charges, not even have a trial. In the end, what happens?
Yeah, well, there's still some questions about that.
I understand.
The Democratic senators are pushing to call some witnesses, and actually, the Trump administration is pushing to call a few witnesses, because Trump wants the trial in the Senate to exonerate him. He doesn't want oh, well, he was impeached, but his friends in the Senate just pushed it aside. He actually wants to be exonerated. So what goes on in the Senate is questionable at this point. What's not questionable?
I think he's better off being exonerated, because I think the liberals in the Congress could say, "Oh, see, it's all rigged." Blah blah. The press will jump on that. I think it's good to have a trial. Actually, I'm torn. Some of me says just don't even acknowledge it. Say this is ridiculous and be done with it. Move on. I think it's better. I do.
Yeah, that's what McConnell has been saying.
And I think he's right about this. He's got good political instincts. Yeah, you have a trial. It's just more. Just dismiss it. It's so stupid. Goodbye.
See, but part of what's going on, and we'll see what gets revealed between now and the Senate trial, because Giuliani is apparently sitting on a lot of information about the Bidens. And if he releases this, then Trump can say, look, it wasn't that we were investigating a quote unquote political opponent. We uncovered corruption in the previous administration.
I think it did. It has, and it will continue to affect Biden. He's in big trouble, or in trouble politically, that is. I think that there's no way around it. In the end, Dr. Lopkin, I think this has helped Trump. I don't see, unless the economy collapses, I see this as, I believe he's in, I think I'd say 75% chance. We've gone back all the way from 50-50 to 60. I'd like to kind of summarize things. I think he's about 70%. Who's going to beat him?
Actually, right now, I would put it even higher. I think he's at 80% that he will win in 2020. And now the Democratic Party is so splintered, they're actually talking about the probability that they are going to have a brokered convention to try to get people behind a single candidate. They're that split.
I think there has to be
and that
split.
works in Trump's position too.
And I think there is still a chance, we'll talk about it next week, that Hillary jumps in.
It's always possible that she jumps in. Honestly, that would make the situation worse for the Democrats and better for Trump. With the exception of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, none of the current Democratic candidates have a big anti-movement, like Hillary did, the anybody but Hillary movement. She jumps in, it's just going to make it worse for them.
I agree. Well, that concludes another edition of Carnivore Bites. We'll do it again next week.
See you then.
You've been listening to Carnivore Bites, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can catch us every week on carnivoreradio.com, exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast Store, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts.
Oh.